Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Wrestling World Talks with Dan and Mac.
That's right, everybody. New month, so we might as well go with some rebranding here at no longer the shoot, Pro Wrestling World Talks. Welcome to Diamond Podcasting Productions on YouTube. You are listening to PWW Talks, and also on Spotify and on Apple. PWW Talks back in our regular channel as well. I guess it's pretty obvious the way that things have kind of ended up. So this is the new PWW Talks. I am Daniel Burke, and my co-host this evening, and forever, my best friend.
Hetero life mate.
Hetero life mate. Everything you can name, possibly. But now, it's official that Mac is now the co-host and co-chair of PWW Talks. We were going to do something official. Somewhat, we're going to have Dave on and do a recording. The producer, super producer Dave, was going to come onto this program, and we were going to make everything kind of official. But unfortunately, I had a transformer blow last night in our town right before we were supposed to record. So we're back to our usual Thursday night captaining. Got some things that we have to discuss, including a big PLE this weekend in Summerslam, which will be happening this coming Saturday night from the wonderful city of Cleveland. Oh, God, I can't fucking believe I had to say that. Wonderful city of Cleveland. It's Cleveland.
Cleveland rocks. Cleveland rocks. Ohio.
Oh, God. You know, the funny thing is I have that song on my Spotify playlist, even though for some reason every time it comes on, because you just think about the Drew Carey show and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
one of those.
Listen, I think that song, because of the connotation of the Drew Carey show, is like a guilty pleasure for a lot of people.
I was an Indians fan for a while as well in the 90s. So
is that really because of anything they did, or is it because of the movie Major League?
Combination of both, but those 90s teams too were good. You know, you got Manny Ramirez, Jim Thome.
That's true.
Of course, when they played the Red Sox, I hated them. They're one of them to die horribly. They were the hump that we couldn't get past for a while too, because 95 we got swept. 98 we beat them one game, and then 99 we had to come back from a 2-0 deficit to beat them 3 straight. Was not our last time we faced them. It was 2007 too. We also had to face them coming back from a 3-1 deficit to win the American League Championship. But other than that, as far as Cleveland sports is concerned, I did root for the Cavaliers when they played the Warriors because I was so Golden State fatigued. And then winning them a championship was pretty cool. Even if the Browns won a Super Bowl, I'd be happy with it, even though I am more kind of in the favor of Detroit winning the Super Bowl than I am Cleveland. Let's be quite honest.
Or Cincinnati too, if you think about it, with Joe Burrow.
That's true. Slim Shady Burrow.
Cody Rhodes. Yep.
Yeah.
Slim Shady Cody Rhodes. Yep.
Slim Shady Burrow right now. Hey, if this new look somehow makes him get to the Super Bowl and win it, and also beat the Chiefs along the way, more power to him. I'm not going to argue with him. Especially if they beat Kansas City. Yeah. So all this, WWE also, big news for them. On Monday night, they were preempted on Sci-Fi Network, so USA could extend coverage for the Olympics. So everybody was kind of expecting that Raw was going to suffer a big drop. Raw drew in 1.4 million people. And USA for the Olympics, the same time coverage between 8 and 11 o'clock, did less than Monday Night Raw did on Sci-Fi. Not an everyday channel. For the go home, going, of course, into SummerSlam, which is happening this weekend. And then tomorrow we have SmackDown. Well, we do have someone that did not fare well in the ratings next to the Olympics, which Dave Meltzer pretty much proven that yesterday, this morning, saying that AEW was demolished in ratings wise, drawing 609,000. Mind you, they did not have the big gimmick match that they did last week, which is why the number was so high. The big, which was with blood and guts, they didn't also have a big long 1 hour contest like they did a few weeks ago between MJF and Will Ospreay. It wasn't a bicentennial episode. It was just a regular episode of Dynamite, drew 609,000 people. And on top of that, this is also coming into the same day that a photo and report had been leaked that Tony Khan had a meeting with Shane McMahon in a Texas airport on Monday. If you can see the picture, Tony Khan looking like a complete buffoon, like he usually does in pictures, and Shane McMahon kind of just looking like not. It was one of those oh, you got me, but you didn't at the same time, because it was kind of meant to be.
Shit. It was very oh shit, but it was also one where he's just like, do I care? It's like all over his face. I know this isn't the best picture, but Tony's very excited to be in this picture, and Shane's just like, did I just do something? I'm not 100% sure. So it's pretty funny in that context if you look at it that way, but I'm curious really where this news goes at all, honestly. It could really just be nothing. It could be a 2-week thing, which is what sources are kind of saying at this point.
Could die on a vine, for all we know.
Could die on a vine.
It's one of those things right now. It's like, oh, there we go. For a second, I thought my camera had kind of detached, and instead it was just something from Zoom. But it was kind of surprising how quickly people can forget that when Shane McMahon was around the last 5 years or so, the amount of complaining that they did that he was on the camera too much, and that they were sick of him, and they were tired of him being in booked high positions. And that was, of course, when he was in WWE. However, now that he's in AEW, now that there's a possibility of him going to AEW, he is now the second coming, which is consistent. At least, if anything, these AEW marks are consistent, because they will literally shit on this guy and whatever he's done the last 5 years, decade in that company. But as soon as he goes to the other side, it's the biggest deal ever. The fact is that if it's an on-air talent role, it's only going to bring you a boost for a couple of weeks. The only intrigue that I have is if he goes and works for them on a backstage role as a producer, executive producer, because of the fact that he does have some knowledge. However, if we go back to Raw Underground, that little experiment, and then we go back to the Royal Rumble in 2022 when he booked himself favorably, and it was also one of the worst Royal Rumbles in company history, for that matter. It was bad. But he was somehow the producer for that. In fact, that same week he got let go. And this is when Vince was still in charge, mind you. So all this stuff leading into that, leading into everything that has kind of happened in the last couple of years. Now, all of a sudden, Tony's on his back foot, kind of desperate, and I'll get into a reason why he's a little bit more desperate in a few minutes. But now, all of a sudden, he's going to try to have a McMahon come onto his product to make it better, or to make it more, to give it a little bit more sizzle. My problem is that, is it too late? Is it to the point now of you've bottomed out and you're really not going to be able to get it back up? Because let's face it, they're having problems now hitting 800 to 900, like hitting 8 and 850, let alone now, if they hit 900,000, they'd be popping fucking champagne in the building right now. Yeah. But the fact is that they are having problems consistently, even trying to break 700 to 750 to 800,000, 600,000 again this week. Of course, Meltzer had to quick to point out that the Olympics were doing it. Yet, explain to me why Monday Night Raw actually beat USA in the network in the ratings this week. Raw did not really suffer that much of a drastic drop going over to Sci-Fi. It was preempted. Now, 5 years ago, if this was Raw, I expected a bloodbath. It would be probably under 1 million people. If we've seen it with FS1 when they would get switched over to FS1 from Fox, that their ratings would drastically dip. But that's also because distribution between Sci-Fi and Fox Sports 1, Sci-Fi is just in more homes. The question I also have is, what does Sci-Fi actually do these days anyways? Because do you remember like the original programming they used to have, like Warehouse 13?
I try to forget.
Eureka, things like that. And that was, because for a number of years, Sci-Fi was pretty much a place where someone could watch a good marathon of the X-Files or Tales from the Crypt. But now it's become, and then there was that period where they were releasing, original programming. Mind you, they did very good numbers when they had Battlestar Galactica. I believe that was a Sci-Fi exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. And now I don't know exactly what Sci-Fi does. Like, is it just there? Like, does it play old shows? What does it exactly do now? Is it just, and the fact that Raw was on it the other night and still did decent numbers, I guess people are still kind of watching Sci-Fi. Like, it's just.
What was it you say you would do here?
Yeah, it's just, is it still Sci-Fi that we grew up with, or Sci-Fi when we were in our 20s and 30s even, where they were still kind of releasing good stuff? I really haven't heard much buzz coming from the Sci-Fi network in at least 10 years. At least.
Because I think it's hard. I think it's really hard for Sci-Fi, even if they did have original content, to really spend money on a show that's going to bring them revenue. And I hate to just kind of say it that way, but if we look at like HBO, it's a little bit crazy. Like, the Game of Thrones, the House of the Dragon, whatever, and even the late 90s, early 2000s with Sopranos, obviously, you have so many marquee shows on that channel. Now you have Disney Plus, and you have all these Marvel shows and all these Star Wars shows to kind of watch or catch up on. I think it's hard for a channel like Sci-Fi to then turn around and say, well, we need the next big thing. I don't think they have the money for it. It's weird to say, but when you look at the competition, it's not that hard to say at all.
It's also under one umbrella. I think it's still under that umbrella that is under Peacock. So
I think you're right, yeah.
Peacock, I think, is going to get the top tier programming only because of the fact that that's the streaming service and they want to try to get everybody humanly possible. Even though the last couple of years, they have tended to found out that it has become a money loser. But I don't think it's because of that. I think that, and most companies need to realize this, it is a long game when you're starting that stuff out. You're not going to see a profit for a number of years because you're trying something that's never really has been done before, where you're moving all your programming to an app, essentially, or a website for that matter. And, it's a la carte. And you have to be able, this is why that streaming revenue and, a lot of these media rights deals are very important. Speaking of media rights deals.
Oh, boy. Go.
AEW and Warner Brothers, their exclusivity window, according to Frightful Select, has ended as of this week, meaning that Tony Khan and AEW can now go searching for other suitors for AEW. And he is also supposed to have a meeting with David Zaslav in Paris this weekend during the Olympics to discuss if they're going to remain on TNT and TBS or they're going to go elsewhere. The question I have is where would they go if they have to leave Warner? That's the $6,000 question we have right now of where is this going to end up? Amazon, I think, could be a contender But because they're willing to also. That's the thing about Amazon. They're willing to pay for things that is kind of a niche product. But also they can get some heavy hitters as they backed up the Brinks trucks to the NFL to get Thursday night games exclusively on Amazon. And the question now is that does AEW end up on Amazon? Does AEW end up on a lesser app or a lesser kind of streaming platform? Or do they stay with Warner? I mean, because these are all kind of things and questions I think that have been looming. We've been talking about this for months, but also a month or two ago, a lot of people, including myself, thought a deal with I keep saying Time Warner, a deal with Warner Brothers was imminent. But now we're on August 1st. They got shit. And their window is closing before they need to either find a home or they need to figure out what they're going to do with Warner Brothers. A part of me thinks Warner Brothers might be waiting this out, letting them see what they're getting from other platforms, and then match their offer, or at least say thank you but no thanks. So that's the question I think they're dealing with now. I think that's a big question because WWE, they've known for months, if not a year, that they were where they were going. And those deals are for big, huge money. Meanwhile, AEW, they want the big $1 billion deal over a certain number of years. I don't even think they're going to come close to that at all. And I think anybody in any platform, it's going to be a short-term deal. Unless it's Amazon, because Amazon might not give a shit and just be like, just put them there. I mean, but I don't think he is going to make enough money in the sense of where he is going to be able to break even. They know they read the reports. They know how much that this guy has poured into his talent roster. And they know at that same time, and they have to look at the pay-per-view numbers and think, 100,000, like you look at Peacock and you look at the numbers they have done with. WrestleMania this year was supposedly seen by 30 to 40 million people on Peacock. It was one of the most watched. It was the most watched WrestleMania in history, which is saying something considering there's 40 fucking editions of this thing. But this year was supposed to be the most watched ever.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the truth, honestly.
I wouldn't be surprised either, because you think about how much intrigue and how much, long championship reign coming into that. It was going to be a huge shift because I think everybody kind of knew 99% chance that Cody Rhodes was walking away with the title. So everybody knew that they just wanted to know how this thing was going to play out. But we're walking into right now, Wembley is less than a month away. And they've only sold 42,000 tickets. Do they get to 50 by the end of the month? I doubt it.
What was it set up for? 65, I think was the number?
I think it was. I think between 50 and 55,000.
Oh, I thought it was set up for 60, 65.
No, okay. It was not set up for 60. I believe they downscaled it now to between 50 and 55,000.
Wonder why. I wonder why. I mean, last year was such a big hit. You would wonder why they needed to downgrade.
Well, those are all interesting questions, considering all the big free agents that they have just signed as well, all the money that they put into it, bringing Will Ospreay in on a full-time basis, bringing Okada in on a full-time basis. The problem is that, Ospreay was at all in last year, so maybe the fans are just like, well, I've seen that. I don't need to see him again. He's not in a big time. The big question, so that is a distinct possibility. CM Punk not with the company. In fact, CM Punk is going to be returning at SummerSlam this weekend, which we will be talking about it heavily later on. But we needed to start off with the landscape of AEW. And also it needs to be reported. Normally we don't report things like this. because it's very TMZ-ish and kind of.
Can we not?
Yeah, I'm just. I just need to distinctly. I need to kind of just say this. Okay, so one of the top feuds going into Wembley, is Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné.
How dare you use the Lord's name in vain?
Yes, or as she would probably say, how dare you use my slave name or something of that nature? I'm surprised she has not come out with a statement like that, because it's just every fucking time that this woman speaks now in any sort of interview or any sort of anything, it is just this fake bullshit. That's the problem I have had with Mercedes Moné. Every time she cuts a promo, every time that she goes out there and does her little fucking stupid dance or says CEO, even when she was Sasha Banks, my main problem with her has always been, I don't believe a fucking thing you're doing. She comes off to me as an extremely fake person. I have said it for years that I thought Britt Baker is a better version of Mercedes Moné, and now these two are feuding. Now, both of them apparently are single. Mercedes Moné filed for divorce this morning, and it's supposed to be finalized in the next few days. She's going to be happy that she's free. You could have taken signs from that, too, considering the fact that she was knocking her husband a few weeks ago for the gear that he made her, saying that he ruined it and all sorts of things. I was just like, I wonder if there's trouble in the water. Let alone a couple of weeks later, here we are. Now, it is also being reported that Adam Cole is moving to Pennsylvania by himself, meaning that him and Britt Baker are no longer a thing. Meaning that Britt Baker is also the main reason to blame for him ruining his life by leaving WWE and going to AEW, where for the last 3 years he has spent 2 full years on injury reserve. And on top of that, this girl just, now his relationship is done. The one that he left for. He left a good job in WWE where he was probably going to be factored in. And if he waited a year, if he waited just 1 calendar year, Adam Cole would probably be in the main event scene in WWE right now. But he's not. He went to the company that pretty much is, when he has been booked mostly poorly, except the MJF stuff, up until the double shit. But when they were buddies, they were great. It was can't miss television. When it was Adam Cole and MJF as the best friends, it was can't miss. It was fantastic. It made both men better. It made both men go on a good trajectory. And then what happened at Grand Slam, the freak injury, which broke his ankle. And now he has not competed since, and we're coming up on a year since that incident. Then he was out for another year because of the concussion. Would he have gotten those injuries in WWE? Probably not, because of the fact that they don't work that style that they work at AEW. Did this move ruin his career? It seems to me right now that Adam Cole going over to AEW was one of the biggest mistakes and the biggest blunders in WWE, in wrestling history, in recent history, because of the fact that you literally had everything going your way. All you had to do was hang on for a year. If you didn't like Vince's ideas for you, just 1 year. You look at LA Knight when he was Max Dupree, for Christ's sake. It was awful. Terrible. He was on the verge of being fired so many times. Now look at him. This weekend, he could become the United States champion by beating Logan Paul, because he did the right thing and waited the fuck out. Adam Cole didn't do that. Keith Lee didn't do that. Keith Lee could be back in WWE in the next year. We don't know. But Adam Cole, what a horrible misjudgment. It is now can be put there because of the fact that your professional career, you have spent the last 3 years, 1 year of healthiness, 2 full years of inactive injuries. And now you went down for your relationship, but apparently that's over. This needs to be studied. This entire fall of Adam Cole needs to be studied, baby.
Bye. Do you need to take a minute? Blood pressure medication, anything? Fire it up.
Fuck.
You're fired up. Jeez.
I have to be fired up. I have to come onto this program tonight and I got to be ready to go. I need to be fired up instead of just sitting on my ass usually when I come on here and I'm just like, so what are we talking about this? Because trust me, I've seen enough. And plus at the same time, different regime. First under, now this new kind of banner. And we need to be able to come out hot and be able to be a hook for people to keep listening to this program.
Man.
That's what I want to do. I am now the beacon of hope, the man that is trying to take this to a whole new level. And I have to do that by driving myself and the audience and my co-hosts especially fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I mean, you weren't wrong about what you said either way. He shouldn't have left. He should not have left. He should not have left. He should have trusted the process because exactly the guys you mentioned, many more trusted the process and they got over, whether it was in their own right, like a lot of them have, whether it was due to the gimmick, whatever, man. Like, he was already over at NXT. The natural progression is you get on the main roster, you might fluff around for a little bit depending, or you might get an immediate shot. Who knows? It just depends on what you can do with it. And the guys that have been there, like Gunther, like Dragunov, Sami Zayn, even LA Knight, like you said, they all trusted the process, and look what they have achieved. You know,
I understand why he went there. I understand because he's friends with Adam Cole. He's friends with the Bucks. He's friends with Kenny. And I understand they probably did all they could to sweet talk him to join. And I'm sure Britt had talked it so much. And, you know, he was seen at parties. He was seen at AEW functions and privately. And I'm sure that there were legal tampering going on then, let's face it. And, you know, the discussions were had. But it hasn't been good. It hasn't been good at all. And it's been a little bit of bad luck with injuries. Apparently now the relationship, I mean, moving to Pennsylvania, Christ. I mean, you'd think that you'd want to stay in Florida, get your own place, because, you know, if you end up back in the E. But
I mean, listen, man, anywhere, right? Anywhere where it's A, without her, and B, there's like, no offense to Pennsylvania, but there are so many better places you could be.
Oh, God. So true. Especially when you make the type of income that he makes.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm sure he's not making, he's not getting paid like $150. He had to get paid a decent chunk to come over. I wonder if he asked for his release. I wonder if this maybe leads to him getting a release. So that way maybe he can go back to WWE sooner rather than later.
So hold on, that's a good point, right? So, and what I was thinking about asking you, but then you kind of led right to it. Do you feel if you're WWE that you take him back in the first place?
Fuck yeah.
You think so?
Yep.
It's nothing against his talent or anything. He's incredibly talented. I'm just nervous about what's going on physically. Because CM Punk, granted Punk is a lot older than him at this point, suffer from this injury proneness the last couple of years.
But if you also recall in that interview that CM Punk did with Ariel Helwani,
sure,
Punk complained about the fact that they didn't really contact him about his injury status. They didn't contact him. You know, they didn't talk to him for 6 months. Yeah, I guess he had to pay for his own surgery.
That I did.
He had to get his own doctors and all that. But also, if you look back at the Jaguars' history of player care and personnel, they did not really get glowing recommendations. So I think it's a pattern that we are noticing here. Plus, Adam Cole would have probably had surgery within the first week or two of them kind of assessing things in WWE because they usually get a hold of the best. Punk talked about it when he tore his triceps at the Royal Rumble. How about the fact that literally they had everything signed, like lined up for him for that week, for him to be able to get surgery, to start rehabilitation and all that stuff. And he was off to a much better kind of start to where AEW was. I mean, you think about it with the triceps, he didn't come back for 9 to 10 months, and now he's coming back closer to about 6 because the injury happened in late January. And now we're coming in. So the beginning of August. So yeah, he's coming in about 6 months. Where last time was about 9 to 10 months before he came back. Of course, people will argue, well, that was part of it was the suspension. Okay, whatever. But that's what happened. I think if Adam Cole is available, WWE should sign him. Probably for lesser money, but I think at the same time, he'll probably make around the same money that they offered him last time. Plus, they're not petty like they once were.
No, it had nothing to do with the pettiness of it. I was really more concerned about his injuries. That would be my only concern if I'm WWE and re-signing Adam Cole. That's it.
Plus with WWE, you're working a much more safer company that's going to make you.
Yep.
Let's face it. Like it's not just the medical stuff, but it's also the fact of their match styles. Like Adam Cole was wrestling like I don't know how many unsanctioned matches he wrestled. He had one against Orange Cassidy and then Hangman.
Yep.
Like that shit adds up. And so they're not going to put him out there. And then they would do everything they could, I think, to get him right and to get him physically in the best shape possible. And you wonder if the injuries didn't happen if they were in WWE, because when he landed wrong on that ankle, you don't know how bad that ramp was constructed or anything like that. Where WWE, it's like everything is fine, level, to the point. There's going to be really no mistakes or no room for error as far as that is concerned. And maybe it's part of a curse because he went over, and it's just like his whole time there has been cursed. Not only has he lost 2 years of his career physically, but now he lost the love of his life. I mean, they were fine before. They were fine for years when he was in NXT and she was in AEW. They didn't have any problems. And then all of a sudden he gets over to that company. The injuries start happening, and now the breakup. Of course, there weren't rumors that she fucked Christian either.
I was wondering if you were going to bring it up or
Those
not.
are rumors. I didn't say that. The rumors are out there. They were out there before I even said anything. So I don't want anybody thinking that I slandered.
No.
The rumors were out there before I even came out.
They've been out there for like over a year at this point.
They have. They have. They've been out there for a while.
Yeah.
So for me, like, to say that, I'm not really worried about fucking slander from people about some asshole being like, that's not proven. I didn't say it was. All I said was it's rumored to be that she's fucking Christian or fucked Christian in the past tense.
Oh my goodness, Dan.
What?
You are ready to go with that conversation.
But that is the world of AEW this week. I'm assuming that, did they get a deal done this weekend? Look, if they didn't get a deal done now, they didn't get a deal done with all this stuff, especially the last 2 months, because everybody's just like, any deal is imminent, man. Any day now, there's going to be a really. Here we are. The exclusive window has ended this week.
I'm going to close my thoughts on AEW this way. I think you're right, number one, that if they didn't get a deal already, I don't think that this weekend there's any real change. I just don't. Additionally, I think that any deal anybody makes with Tony Khan is going to require Tony to give up some control. In some way, shape, or form,
Facts.
that is going to happen because why else are you not marketable to the existing provider that you're with? What do you really think the exclusivity deal and that being over? What do you think you're really going to get? Some people are going to want to change your product if you go to them. Some people are going to want to change the booking decisions. It's very much like WWE lately. It's like you have certain champions because they fit a certain look. Cody Rhodes fits one look. Damian Priest fits another. Gunther will fit another. You can be okay with that, but listen, like just spitballing an idea here that's probably not reality, but let's say they go to Paramount. Paramount's like, okay, but you can't put, thorn halos on people anymore. You can't have female talent drink blood anymore.
No.
Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff that he's going to have concessions on. And if he's not willing to do that, then there's not going to be a deal. Like, maybe look at streaming. I don't know if Ring of Honor or whatever their platform is could still be rejuvenated enough to air them. Then they have their own subscription plan. That might work, but then that becomes more of a niche market, which I don't know if he's willing to accept.
I mean, if he wants to try to come out with his own streaming platform, WWE couldn't even do that. They tried with the network. And they just found it, especially when Nick Khan came in, he's just like, why the fuck are we paying for this overhead? Why don't we just have somebody else pay us for our rights? And that's what they did with the Paramount, with the Peacock deal. I don't know if AEW has that luxury of somebody coming out there and being like, yeah, we want that. Their merchandise sales when CM Punk got fired dropped 70%. Their action figure line I go consistently, maybe bi-weekly at my local Walmart looking for stuff. They haven't had a refresh in months. And Eddie Kingston, Chris Jericho, and I think Hangman Page, those same figures that have been there for 2 years have been still there for 2 years. Like they're still just peg warming hard. It's when CM Punk called Adam Peg Warmer Page. He wasn't far off. And don't even get me started on the video game, which is an fucking mitigated disaster. It is one of the biggest disasters in the last decade in video gaming, and that says a fucking ton. WWE released one of the worst games ever in the last 5 years. I would say that maybe Fight Forever is a better game. The problem is that as far as maybe gameplay wise and graphics, it's not a glitch fest, and it's more playable. But the problem is it doesn't give you. WWE 2K20 still had more stuff to do other than what AEW, and that game was shit. But it still had more stuff than what AEW gave you for Fight Forever, which is why their player base literally dropped within like 3 months. And then there's just like season pass. If you bought the complete edition of the game 10 years, like a year ago, you'd still have to buy the new season passes. It's ridiculous. Just an absolute mitigated. And I played the game. Somebody bought it for me as a gift. So I was like, I'll try it. Gave it a shot. And it was, like I said, it was decent. But at the same time, it's not what I'm looking for in a wrestling game. I need to be able to have creation suites, not the shit that they gave us. It felt like playing Madden, where it's the same Madden faces that they've used now in their creation suite for the last 7 or 8 years. Same ones. And I felt like that's the same thing with their creation suite this time. No created arenas, like it just
It felt I'm not great that I haven't played it like you have, but what I've seen and what I've heard, what I've played, which admittedly is maybe 5 minutes, it felt more like a wrestling arcade game.
Yes.
Than what should have been an at-home, just like you said, echoing 2K a little bit, something like that with like a creation suite or some kind of a story-driven mode or whatever the case may be. And like the mini game things, like what? It's kind of dumb.
It's a $25, maybe $30 game. Not a $60, $75 game, and not a $100 complete edition game. It's not.
Yeah, I wouldn't spend money on a complete edition unless all those passes then became free for that.
Yeah,
I
mean that's it. Like people will pay. I spent $140 on 2K24 this year, but that's because I bought everything.
Exactly.
And I unlocked everything day one. Because look, was I going to play the showcase mode? Of course I was. But at the same fucking time, I wasn't going to sit there. Like I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to grind shit out. I just don't. If I had the option to unlock everything day one, I'll pay a couple bucks extra. Like, it's just, I'm not fucking 12 or 13 anymore. And hey, I can grind this shit out because I got nothing else better to do. I have a life. I have a fucking job. I have a relationship. Side hustles. Like, fuck. I'm not going to sit there and fucking play. I got to unlock this fucking guy. I got to keep playing. I got to get more virtual currency. No, it's not happening. No way. If I do have time to play, like the only stuff I play long form anyways now is maybe a baseball game because that might take me an hour, just to play one game. And that's because I'm winning 95-0. So it's just like home run. Okay. But that's it. Like the days of me sitting there and I got to get this arena, I got to get this championship. It might take me time. Even with my rise, it's like, okay, like halfway through, I'll get to it. I don't care. I just don't have the time.
The thing is, like, everybody plays games differently these days too, right? Where, like you said, it's like for you, it's like I might play for a little bit and I'm gonna play how I want to play. It's like I'll do the same thing. I play like a variety of games. I'm a gamer, and I will sit there and play like I don't know, just God of War off the top of my head, and I'll play that for a couple hours, and then I shut it off. It's just like I don't give a fuck. I don't need to spend like all day Saturday grinding shit out. Trying to get gear or trying to progress the story. I'll do it when I want to fucking do it, And I remember one of my buddies back in the day too was like, "Oh, hey, like you just blow through games." I'm like, "Yeah." Depending on the game, I'm only playing for the story, or I'm only playing to enjoy myself in any way, shape, or form, regardless. So it's like, don't judge me. Don't judge me. I'll play how I want to play.
Exactly. Like I don't give anybody shit on how they play because it's just like I hate it when people give me stuff about it because it's like if it's a sandbox game, like most sports games, like NBA 2K and baseball especially, maybe not Madden, but if it's a sandbox game where it's like I can do all this, or if it's Skyrim, or if it's Grand Theft Auto, I'm going to do what I fucking want to do because it's a sandbox game. Sandbox has no rules. And when I bought Skyrim, I went in mods first time. I was like, fuck this. Like, I don't... Because...
Well, playing that game without mods is tough enough already anyways.
Well, it's just... I don't like... When you're battling up against this creature and it's killed you 6 times already... You're getting frustrated. You want to chuck your fucking controller that costs $60 across the room. Like, why? For what? You can still beat the fucking thing. Who cares if you don't? If it takes you, if you use like a magical weapon or whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, who cares?
If you beat the game, who gives a shit? Like you still did the same thing. It's just like, I didn't get any achievements though.
You don't even have to beat it. Well, I mean, there are people that definitely care about that shit, ironically, but you don't even have to beat it. Play how you want to play.
I get it.
If you enjoy just fucking around in the game, you don't even have to fucking beat it.
Exactly.
I feel like that's half the thing with those kind of games like Skyrim anyways, and GTA, obviously, they mentioned too. GTA, there are times I won't beat that game for like a year. There are other times I'll beat it and I'll just keep playing it because it's a sandbox. It's what you do. You like to have fun. Do it how you want.
I just go in director mode so I can't die.
Oh God, yeah.
I just go on rampages.
I will be 100% transparent. I tried to replay GTA probably like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or whenever I got my PS5 because I was like, you know what? with the graphical updates, PS4 to PS5, it'll look a little bit better and it'll load a lot faster. And I gotta say, man, I got maybe like 2 days in, and I'm just like, I'm so ridiculously distracted that I don't want to play it again right now. But I would just like, tool around at that point. I didn't care.
Grand Theft Auto 5, a game so good, we bought it for 3 different consoles.
Yep.
That is the magic of Rockstar games. It's just like, we don't need to come out with shit for fucking 10 years because they're just going to keep buying this fucking thing every fucking time a new console comes out.
I'll be honest. Red Dead Redemption, that was that for me too. I remember I got it on like Xbox 360 back in the day. Then I got it again for PS3, and I think I got it for PS4 as well. I don't remember, but either way, like I'm pretty sure I did actually.
Maybe the best DLC ever for a game. It's up
Nightmare.
There with Undead Nightmare.
Yeah, it was so good.
Because that was so fun.
But just in general, that was a fun game. And I remember when 2 came out, I was so excited for that game.
2 was a bit of a struggle for me. I'm still... I actually just started to pick it up again recently. It's just... I don't like it when you just have to go from like the ground up and you can't like it's like, oh, everybody wants us dead. Oh, great.
Good Arthur impression, no less.
Yeah, it's the best I could do with I do like Dutch is so full of shit. Like you can just tell from like
Tahiti.
It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Dutch? Really?
God damn Dutch!
Oh, and Elias is just gonna get us killed. Like, fucking asshole that guy is.
Hosea, you mean?
Whatever the fucking asshole that. Yeah, I think it's Hosea.
The fucking asshole.
I just had to break him out. I just had to break him out of jail. Actually.
Is that Hosea?
I thought it was Elias.
No. No. I know who you're thinking of. That. Micah.
Oh yeah, Micah. That's it. Yeah. Fucking asshole that guy is.
As soon as you said yeah. If you have not beat the story, I'm not going to go any further with that conversation.
No, I haven't.
Anyway,
I have not.
Okay, then we'll stop right there. I
have not beat the game yet, so I gotta. Yeah.
All right. Since we're way off topic, anyways, and since you have not beat the game, we'll go on to predictions, not spoilers.
Well, it could be spoilers because there's some things that are definitely locks on this one, folks.
That is very true. So, I don't know. Start anywhere. Start from the bottom up if you want.
I guess we'll start from the bottom up.
All right. I guess we'll start from left to right then at that point. So, one of the probably first few matches is going to be for the United States Championship. Champion Logan Paul against challenger L.A. Knight.
Yeah. I feel like that this is the, it's a natural progression for him because LA Knight last year was kind of his rival when he won the Slim Jim Battle Royal, and that was the announcement too. That, I mean, I remember last summer everybody being all pissed off. They're like, "Oh, he's not even a title match. He didn't win Money in the Bank." And then he got the Slim Jim commercial, and in my opinion, I think that's just as good.
No, at that point, you knew the stars on the rise, man.
Yeah, it's like he didn't get the championship. Yeah, he lost to Roman Reigns last year in Saudi Arabia. But you know what? He got a huge payday. I'm sure he did. He looked at that check and probably just thought to himself, I have never made this much money in my entire life. And I just did this in one night. This is a guy who has been on the indies for so fucking long. Mind you, there are pictures of him online with him and Jon Moxley as like roommates together. That's how long that this guy has been in the game. And he has just been struggling and struggling and struggling. And I remember 5 years ago when I saw him on the NWA, I said, now is this the time? Maybe this is when people I start really kind of take seriously. And then he goes over to WWE as LA Knight. People kind of were like, he's fucking Eli Drake. Just let him be Eli Drake. And he is Eli Drake. He's just LA Knight.
He is now, yeah.
And he's still doing the same things. He's still over as fuck. In my opinion, they took a risk. They took a risk because, yes, you can beat a hot baby face and then still and just diminish everything. You can do that. They did that with Cody last year, and I second guessed them, and I said, the time was now. But you know what they did? They made him bigger. Now, same thing with LA Knight. LA Knight is a bigger star. He's working up against a really big mainstream star and has gone toe to toe with him in promos and also in like segments and vignettes and stuff like that. So I think it's easy. I think it's an easy decision here. It's a natural projection for the story and the star. So I pick LA Knight to finally beat Logan Paul and finally win his first major championship on the main roster. LA Knight, yeah.
Yeah. I have nothing else to really add to that. I think it's just incredibly factual because he is going to walk out United States champion.
Yeah.
He just is. He literally just is. Like it's. I feel like it's a natural progression for the character. It frees up Logan for other programs or to walk away, whatever he wants to do. I don't know. Probably new programs, but still, it frees up a match down the road potentially where Cody maybe is United States champion for a little bit, whether he's WWE champion at the same time, who knows? We'll talk about that. But it frees that up down the road too without Logan Paul, basically being a coward in that situation.
Well, I look at the Logan Paul situation too, and I think to myself, they might move him over to Raw considering the Netflix deal is approaching.
That's very true also.
So this is them being able to move him over to, because I'm thoroughly convinced at this point that SmackDown is going to be a very babyface heavy show, and Raw is going to be a very heel dark show, and kind of be more of the adult program and I think that that's the way you kind of have to do it. From that standpoint, because why not have both brands be distinctly different? They're shot different. They're controlled differently, different figureheads. You now are at a point, especially with the Netflix deal, because now things are more open sandbox. We mentioned it earlier with the video games. Now you can get away with a little bit more. You don't have an FCC violation now looming over your head because now it's streaming. You don't have to worry about, can't say that, can't do this, can't have blood on TV. You don't have to worry about it. You do have to worry about sponsors, but I think sponsors now, if you get the right ones, they don't give a shit. It's UFC, same fucking thing. UFC is a very male-driven sport. It is very violent. It is against the norm in a sense, against many things. But you wonder now if WWE is in a position where it's like, well, we don't want to lose Mattel, right? They don't want to lose Mattel. But maybe they'll be more incorporated to, because they're already doing like vodka ads and maybe you get Bud Light.
Well,
maybe you get Miller,
Isn't Wheatley like Cody's brand or something though?
I think so.
Yeah, so I mean that's probably why they're getting vodka too and Prime with Logan Paul. So I mean that would make sense.
Yes,
that's the case.
It does make sense completely, but at the same time, it's still 10, 15 years ago. I never thought that WWE, especially too with a PG product, it's like, oh, we're advertising alcohol now. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have the right people behind them that understand the concept of being able to toe that line of, well, yeah, we have our entities that we want to keep. We have our entities that we kind of want to be able to keep, our sponsors. But if we lose some of them, I mean, Dana White has openly said, I've told sponsorships to go fuck themselves on many of occasions, because he tells his fighters to go fuck themselves on many of occasions. So you wonder if the move to Netflix, if people are going to be concerned about like, oh, they're going to lose sponsors because of it. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have to worry about that, but the rumor has it that Netflix wants Roman Reigns and they're probably going to want Logan Paul. That would be and you'd probably want to get everybody that's like your mainstream relatable guys to be on top. And also it makes sense if Roman Reigns does go over to Raw later on, because we'll talk about that coming up when we talk about the main event. Well, one of the main events of the program. But no, I think it's LA Knights to win on Saturday.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. So that brings us to the other major title on the line. Major in the sense that this is also a rematch of last month for the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker.
Well, I remember at Money in the Bank being pissed off.
Yep.
But they're running it back, and they've made Braun, I think, more of a threat in the meantime. It's another one of those deals of hated the original idea, but now it's like, but you've now made this bigger. So I guess fuck me, I guess. But I have to go with, but now you back yourself into a corner because you have to do it this way. You have to fucking do this.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth.
It's like, it's now or never, but in my opinion, it's I am 100%, I am 95 to 99.9% sure that LA Knight's going to win the U.S. title. I am almost 105% sure that Braun Baker is going to win the IAC belt.
I said it last month when it was the first match. I said I would be surprised otherwise. I think you're 100% right, and I think if they want to do this correctly, they have to book him to win. They have to. I
maybe in dominating fashion too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care the fashion. The one thing we should talk about too is it's SummerSlam, so there's usually some big returns, which again we'll talk about. One of the major ones that is being discussed is for the main event. But who's to say somebody just doesn't run out? Brother. Yeah, I don't think it's him. Who's to say that somebody doesn't run out during this match and somehow get involved? Whatever, man. I can't imagine who. You know, unless Ricochet mysteriously re-signed and then wants to come out and attack.
Oh, Jesus.
Braun Breaker. Please, God, no.
I would boo horribly. I'd be like, boo!
Me too.
I mean,
I really hope that if anything, he's,
because I'm not booked.
Anyways, yeah, I agree. Obviously, barring anything from the outside, I really do believe that this is Braun Breaker's time to win this and to carry it probably with just the same amount of prestige as somebody else we'll talk about later. But that brings us to Liv Morgan's Revenge Tour for the Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley.
You know what this feud has done? It has created outfit one-upping.
Yes.
Christ on a fucking pony. You have Liv Morgan last week breaking the internet with her attire. And then you have Rhea Ripley breaking the internet with her attire this week. I just want this feud to keep going to see where, yeah. But look, it's a very soap operatic. What was that?
Yeet.
It is a very soap operatic storyline. And normally under the Vince era, this would be done fucking terribly. But they have done an
They'd have a wedding and everything.
Exactly. They would have a wedding already. Like it just would be bad. And this has been done so well that you want to see more of it. You want to see what type of bullshit that Dominic Mysterio is going to get himself in this week. It's interesting because you're like, what the fuck is this guy going to do? When 2 years ago I would sit here and tell you Dominic Mysterio is never going to make it this industry. Because I did say here 2 years ago, I just said he is the biggest waste of talent in the industry right now. And if I were him, he would be the first guy that I would get rid of. Where now I can't say that. I can't. He's proven himself as a heel, despicable heel, and now also being able to play AJ Soprano better than AJ Soprano in The Sopranos, for Christ's sake, with what he's been able.
Dirty.
Just, hey,
that's dirty.
It's look. He is AJ. AJ was such an unlikable character, right? And now we're looking at this fucking guy, and he's just such an unlikable character. But we want to know what is going to happen, and I firmly believe, that Dominic is going to make a choice this weekend, and it's going to be to help Liv Morgan retain the championship against Rhea Ripley. It's not the time. It's not the time. You can get a lot more out of this. And the fact, too, that I think that, we mentioned Yeet earlier. I firmly believe that it's going to lead to some mixed tag matchups between Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio against Rhea Ripley, and who I would have thought Damian Priest, but I don't know if Damian Priest is going to be involved in that angle of it. It very well could be Jey Uso, Yeet, and Rhea Ripley up against Dominic and Liv. Holy shit. I mean,
I have a counter proposition or thought about this that might not give credence to what you're saying, but might lead to at least a more rounded story. I think that Dominic does come out probably to help Rhea, and obviously we're talking about
fucks it up.
Well, there's that, but somebody else in the Judgment Day comes out to help Liv Morgan.
That is true. Where then you can have Judgment Day Civil War, because there already is a Civil War. It's been brewing for a while.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's there, which I think is going to come massively into play in another match we're going to talk about later on.
Well, the thing is, too, we're talking about that match, and typically how they've been running some of these events is to have one title match, which, unfortunately is like 90% of the card in this case. There is a championship match on the line.
Yes.
But who's to say that Priest and Gunther don't kick off, and then they have this match after? We don't know.
This match could be semi-main.
Yep.
And I would not, even though I don't think it might be, I think they might stick something else in there just to kind of be a kind of go-between, because I think they want the audience extremely hot coming into to the main event. Which
I was going to say the last two matches that we'll talk about are two that could potentially be co-main events, as it were, right?
That's very true. Yeah, there is kind of like a co-main event type feel to this show.
Yeah.
And but also you can make an argument that there's like 4 main events of the show, to be quite
honest.
I
100% agree. I think they all have main event quality, honestly.
That is like, I look at the top 4 matches on the card, which I consider this a top 4 match. And this is a mania. Like, this is where you're like, okay, this is on Saturday and this is on Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, this is, and everything else we'll just figure out. Because these are 2 marquee kind of storylines right now on each brand. Well, actually 3 on Raw, 1 on SmackDown.
Yep.
And to be quite honest with the Solo and Cody Rhodes thing, it has nothing to do with Solo Sikoa. It has to do with what could be happening. We'll get onto that later on.
Yep.
But these four matches with the storyline implications into it, these would be your WrestleMania headliners on both nights, both matches. And that's how strong the implications are. And it's fire. The angles have just been great. Like, as far as this whole storyline is, it's like, where the fuck are they going to go with this? Like, where is this going? And who's going to be involved? And all these questions. And you have to tip your hat and just say, bravo fucking vote. Because they somehow turned this whole love triangle into a storyline that somehow makes you care. And it has implications in more than one matchup. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, shit. Like, I'm intrigued as hell, but I firmly believe that Rhea is not walking out with the title. I think Liv has to retain. I think that's the smartest play that you could possibly have, is Liv retaining. And that's it.
It doesn't make sense for Liv to win against Becky, who she had never beaten before, to then lose to Rhea, who she's also never beaten before.
Correct.
It wouldn't make a lot of sense. So, and I agree.
It doesn't hurt Rhea in the latest. It doesn't.
At all.
It does not. It's just it's a part of the story. You need to get the belt off her. I think it's time for her to kind of have a definitive loss, even though it's really not a definitive loss. She's going to get fucked over. Like, I don't expect Liv to win the match clean. So she's going to have that argument there.
Yep.
So yeah, I think Liv Morgan retains. I think if Rhea just goes out there and dominates and that's it, and that's a mistake on so many levels, because you have people invested now. And I think that this storyline can keep going and going and going and take many different turns, and people are just going to be like, shit. And also, with the outfits these ladies have been wearing, it's just going to get hotter and hotter in here, man.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
Goddamn right, cornbread.
I don't disagree, though. Like, this has longevity. It really does. Depending on, obviously, who comes out and interferes, you add fresh layers to the story, too. So I agree. I think Liv retains. So far, I think we're on the same page. And we'll potentially be on the same page with this next one for the WWE Women's Championship. Bayley defends against Nia Jax.
I'm kind of split on this one, I'll be honest.
Actually, I have two, not for nothing.
I can see the point for Nia winning, but I also could see the point of Bayley retaining, but also the Tiffany Stratton factor. But I still say it's too soon for Tiffany to cash in. I think that, you kind of give it because, you kind of just have to give it a little bit more time.
Well, I'll tell you what I've heard, actually. So I heard this week that it is probably going to be Nia that goes over.
Yeah.
They build up Tiffany and Nia again for a little bit, build up their friendship, and then Tiffany face turns and cashes in on Nia. That's the rumoring I'm hearing.
It makes sense because Tiffany is crossing over into that category.
She is.
They're not going to bore. Like, they're not going to bore.
She's already at that point. But yeah.
It's just they're not going to bore.
Yeah.
It's like she's getting to that point because it's like she's a great character, she's a good worker, and yeah. It's just she has a lot of the perfect combination of what people want. To be honest, it's like you have kind of like your early to mid 20s Charlotte, and
I don't think that's a wrong analysis at all.
No, I look at Tiffany Stratton, I'm just like, this is what Charlotte should have been. Like, as far as presentation is concerned, because it's like she's no longer a heel. She's getting into that category now of just like they're gonna fucking go nuts for her. I said every guy in the fucking goddamn building is gonna go nuts for her. It's just we're at that point of just it's just I do like the idea of them holding off on it, and not having her cash in immediately, maybe building up this kind of friendship more. I don't know, though. It's like Bayley, she just won the title back at Mania. It was a meaningful moment. She's had some very good matches with some great talent. I thought her and Io also had one of the better matches of Mania weekend. It really doesn't get as much. It really doesn't get as much, again, because she's one of the most underappreciated talents, because it's like she had one of the best matches of the weekend, but everybody's still talking about Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Nobody really even looks at Io Sky and Bayley as a great matchup, because it's just like, oh, the Cody. It's like Bayley just finished her story. She had just a tremendous redemption act. She's now one of the top baby faces, and now it's like another kind of reign that I think most people are probably going to forget about, because as far as women is concerned, everybody's been concerned about Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. No one's been looking at Bayley, and it's like they should be, because she's had some quality matches with some good talent. And I expect also, because Nia, again, since she's come back, has raised the bar. She has been a hell of a lot better in ring, and also has more confidence in her character. She's one of the better heels in the company, not just women. And I love when she's just terrorizing people now in the audience and taking people's popcorn. It's like, it's just old school tactics. It's just like, you know what? They fucking hate you already. Just be more hateable. It's easy.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she's doing. And she's gotten better in ring. Her confidence is there. So I like this confident Nia Jax. I feel bad again, though, that Bayley kind of is getting shafted. One of the most underappreciated talents. It's funny that she was such a Bret Hart fan, and now her career has kind of gone like Bret Hart, of just they only bring me in and when they need me, and then it's just under. It's just it's hard, because I look at her and I'm just like, she's going to be the Bret Hart of this industry, in the sense of she can have a good match with anybody. She's one of the better workers in the company, and has raised the bar as far as women's wrestling is concerned, as with her in-ring ability. She's a great character, but at the same time, people are just going to look at it and just be like, you had a Bret Hart career, because also you just underappreciated. Unfortunately, I'm going to go with Nia. And I feel bad, because it's like I love Bayley now, and I'm like, I feel bad.
So we're gonna go 4 for 4 the same pick then, because I also I'm very big on Bayley, especially the last year and a half or so.
Yeah,
she's kind of rejuvenated her career, but they just, ever since they gave her the belt, it's just, even though the quality of match is there, it just felt like she's not doing much.
No.
And that's not the greatest championship reign. I don't think that's Bayley's fault.
No,
I think that we've talked about this before, where previously, before the draft, SmackDown had a lot of great women talent, and they've kind of flipped that recently, where Raw now has more female talent. So what's on SmackDown is still serviceable, don't get me wrong, and they should probably do more call-ups from NXT, because I think Roxanne is ready at this point.
Yeah.
But it's just, who they put it up against, it's just like, it hasn't really done much for me. Great matches, don't get me wrong. Again, like, Bayley is a great talent. She's able to work with anybody, but it's just, it doesn't feel like it's amounted to much in terms of her title reign. Whereas if they do what that rumor was, like I said before, of having Nia win, they kind of enhance the relationship between her and Tiffany Stratton, and then Tiffany turns on her, turns face, and then cashes in on her. I think that's far more compelling. I hate to say it about Bayley, but it's just, this title reign has not been compelling, where that would start to be compelling at that point. So I agree. 4 for 4 on the picks. Nia, I think, is going to win this as well. So we'll jump to the first of the title matches for the World Heavyweight title. Damian Priest defends against the Ring General, Gunther.
This is another one where you're just like, this is a lock. Like, it's you. Damian Priest has been a fine champion. He has done a lot better than I thought he was going to do as champion. Again, as soon as Triple H took power, we have seen this guy get more confident every week. He's been able also to carry himself as a top star. He's also got the Latin market. I think that they can kind of market with him in the sense that they have done with, they were always like, well, we were looking for our next Rey Mysterio. I look at Damian Priest, I'm just like, yeah, it's your next one. I like the fact that he uses Spanish in his promos. I like the fact that he's kind of become almost like a de facto babyface. He's showing his comedic chops. He's showing his, it's just, again, he's come off to me as like the sitcom dad recently. Because he's just like, he's having to handle all these like adolescent kids. And he's just like, oh, right. You're like giving lectures to Dominic Mysterio, and Dominic's talking back to him like, you just sound like my dad. It's just like, because I feel like your father right now. God, I just want to be champion and enjoy it. They got to do with you assholes. And having to talk to Rhea Ripley about Dominic's, it's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, really? I just want to be champion. I just want to be able to enjoy myself. He's not going to be able to, because this Saturday, he is going to get fucking mangled. I
think Gunther wins, but they've made it believable the last couple of weeks with the brawls they've had. I'll give them that credit where credit is due.
I mean, I don't expect this to be like a squash match nonetheless, but Saturday's a coronation. I feel like it's set up for that. I don't think there's going to be a rematch, because the way that there's the tension building right now with everything that's been going on with Judgment Day, I think they're going to get somehow heavily played into this a little bit, but maybe not, because it's Gunther and you kind of want to put this guy over as a legitimate badass heel, where he really doesn't need to fucking beat people by cheating. He's not going to have to do chicanery, because of just, he is the probably belle du belle and that company right now, the best wrestler in the company. As far as professional wrestling is concerned, bell to bell, and also probably the most believable. And if you're thinking about the future here with Gunther, you can set something up for a Saudi show where it's him and Brock Lesnar. You can have him against Seth Rollins, against CM Punk. And if Roman Reigns goes over to Raw and Gunther is the champion, that
is true.
You can anoint Roman Reigns as the guy to beat him, which, in my opinion, makes sense and is something I'm not going to hate. It's like, guy was champion for 3.5 years. He's going to come back. He's going to be a beloved babyface. Everybody is going to want him to kick the shit out of Gunther by that point. So it makes 100% sense that this is the direction they have to go. There really is no likelihood or no scenario, in my opinion, right now, because they're not going to have a rematch after this. It's not going to happen. Like, Gunther's not going to lose from some bullshit. Gunther's going to win. And there's no scenario with Damian Priest winning in my eyes. There's none. It's just, this is, in my opinion, it's a coronation. It's a coronation for this guy who, we've seen the trajectory. We've seen also the fact that this guy It has been a natural progression. He was IC champion longer than any other person in that championship's 45-year history. And you think his first World Heavyweight Championship match after losing the championship at WrestleMania in a meaningful moment, first time going up for that title, that he's going to lose? There is no scenario where Damian Priest walks out of Cleveland as the World Heavyweight Champion. There's none. You can put it on the board now. Gunther is going to walk out as the World Heavyweight Champion. There could be some inside stuff that happens with Judgment Day. The Imperium could get involved. I could see any of those sort of scenarios happening. But Damian Priest, I think, is on the verge of a face turn completely. So he's going to be a top babyface in the company. And I think he's going to have to deal with some Judgment Day stuff. And I think Gunther's the right play. He is the absolute right play, especially too when you have Bash in Berlin literally happening in 4 weeks.
Yeah. The Imperium thing adds another layer, because if you think about it, it's just Kaiser.
Yes.
Vinci got drafted to SmackDown. Vinci has also not been on TV for quite a while, even before the draft, I believe. I don't think he's even debuted on SmackDown. So there is some potential there to interfere, but I agree regardless. I don't think it matters. Right? I think that you're right. There is going to be some Judgment Day drama. There might be, that aspect of some of them trying to maybe help Gunther because they want to get back at Priest for something that happened in the Rhea or Liv match. Maybe this is the first match and something preemptively happens. We don't know yet. So it does make this match interesting, but I have to agree. I don't think that Priest is going to walk out champion. I'd be shocked. Could they still surprise us? Yeah, sure. But I would be shocked if it's not Gunther, and it's not now.
It is a predictable outcome, but I think because I think everybody feels, yeah, it's happening. It's happening. It's just the way that they have booked this guy. This guy does not lose. And if he loses, it's meaningful. And there's so many talent that that this guy can work with. I fully expect that Gunther and Dragunov is going to be on the horizon.
Oh, yeah. I'd be shocked.
It's going to be happening. That drain, that is going to happen. I expect though that Dragunov is probably going to lose because they're the only person I see Gunther losing to in the next year. Not saying he's going, and I'm talking about the next person to beat him in the year. The calendar year is Roman Reigns. Dragunov beat him once, yes, for the NXT UK Championship. That is correct. He did beat him clean, but that was also a Gunther that was the heavier Gunther. Now we're looking at the streamlined Gunther that is just he looks like and just shows you every week now that he's just some precision assassin.
It's, for me though, what I'll say is Gunther and Dragunov should be your next, long-term kind of feud. Like Austin and The Rock, like Cody and Roman, that's what that should be. Because they could call attention to the history, have Dragunov lose once, come back a year or so later at WrestleMania and try again. And maybe win, maybe not. No need to really qualify that now with an answer, but still, it's possible.
You wonder also if they're going to wait till the Netflix deal, because then you can have more physical and brutal kind of bloodbaths now. Because again, you don't have to really worry about network television. So Gunther, I feel like, is the better. I'm not. And look, Damian Priest has been fucking fantastic. Like he has really surprised me. Not as a talent because I've always thought he's had it, but he's really kind of coming to his own just for a while. Like and even when he was when he won Money in the Bank, I was like, I don't hate this. When he won the World Heavyweight Championship, I was like, I really don't hate this.
Yep.
And that's the way I felt for him for a long time. And I'm really happy that he's getting his opportunity and his shot. He's been a fine champion, but Gunther's just better. And it's nothing to, there's nothing really to get mad about. Like I think, or get upset about, like, or depressed about. I think everybody just needs to look there and just say, yeah, he's better. And it's the better play, in my opinion.
Well, speaking of better, I guess we can talk about the next match with the best in the world, CM Punk against Drew McIntyre with special guest referee Seth frickin' Rollins.
Oof.
This is going to be an interesting match.
This might be one of the better matches of the weekend, of the night. And I know people have well, Punk's injuries. Yeah, I don't know, though.
He's looking good.
He's looking good.
Supposedly feeling well, too. So.
Yeah, he feels well. He looks 100%. But that, again, ring time, all that stuff, you wonder. Because, again, I think he's one major injury away from that's it. But who knows? Even, like, somewhat minor, he could be done. I just think that this is... And again, it's another match they could put on WrestleMania. It has a WrestleMania feel to it, the way that this match has been kind of built up. I mean, is a one and done feud? Like, is that the thing? Like, if it's one and done,
that's the thing.
Yeah, like, because does he beat him and then get the bracelet back, and then because Gunther going up against Drew McIntyre. Would be, I think, a good, would kind of be a good first feud for him. But then at the same time, do you want Drew McIntyre? Like, because I'd hate Drew to just come into this and lose, because he's kind of been played a fool by Punk so many times, and it's like 3 or 4 times already, and it's like you kind of got to get something back. But I don't know.
I mean, dude, all I can say is this, and it's an interesting conversation piece given the context that Seth Rollins is the special guest referee. There's always that chance that somebody else comes out, pins both of them. He declares them the winner, even though they're not in the match.
Yes.
We have no idea what to expect from Rollins. If you caught his promo on Monday, he will maybe let everything go, or he might not let anything go. Like, we don't know. He's going to be a wild card, obviously, which is funny considering he's the referee. I agree that I feel like Punk should lose. But then if Punk loses, it's like, well, where does that take him now?
Considering also this is his first one-on-one match on television since
10 years, basically.
Yeah, 2013.
Yeah.
So this is 2013, 2014.
Right.
So this is kind of his first match, technically, back. Because, the Rumble was the Rumble. Like, you really don't lose the Rumble. You're just a participant. You didn't win, but you didn't lose, really, either.
No, I get you.
Like, you got thrown over the top rope. So this is his first full-fledged match back since he came back. Because he's had the couple house show matches, but those don't count. But so there's that factor into it. Punk's first match back, feud's been, so to me it's like, or you have a fuck finish, and then you can set something up for Bash at Berlin. I don't fucking. Punk on paper should lose. but I don't think he will. I think he gets his little bracelet back too. I think that Rollins is actually going to be a fair and impartial referee. Or he's somehow going to fuck McIntyre over or something. I honestly think that Rollins and Punk, they're not going to build anything up until the right time. Just him being in the match now, it does add intrigue, but do you blow that off now or do you wait 6 months?
I think that they tease it at the end, like Rollins knocks him out or something like that after the match is over, though, and that's how you plant the seed and introduce it down the road. I don't think they have to pull the trigger right now.
This has very SummerSlam heart and soul 1997 Shawn Michaels Bret Hart Undertaker vibes.
Yeah,
where Bret's Shawn's the referee.
Yep.
And these are the vibes I'm getting from that now, which could, all in all work where, he's ready to hit him and he hits McIntyre instead and he's got to cover him 1, 2, 3. And now it's Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre now instead of Punk and Seth Rollins.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. But then again, we've seen McIntyre and Seth Rollins.
I don't think there's any harm in doing it one more time, though.
No,
especially
that's true.
A build up to Punk, because my thought is exactly the same of that match, but instead of Shawn Michaels rolling out of the ring and walking away, I think, he counts 1, 2, 3, and then hits Punk with a stomp or something after. I don't think Rollins is going to walk up the ramp. So then I think he has to contend a little bit with both of them, just like Punk and McIntyre have dealt with each other the last few months.
Well, the brilliance of that from 1997 also was the fact that it immediately turned Shawn heel.
Yep.
Even though he didn't mean to do what he did, it still turned him heel.
I remember. I agree.
Which was the weird thing about it, because Shawn really didn't do it. Shawn was literally also risking his career at that point because he was not going to be able to wrestle in the United, or his career was on the line or something. That was one of the storylines, or he was going to be out for a while. And, or he couldn't wrestle I don't fucking know. But it was one of his, he had a stipulation on which he was willing to break because Bret Hart just spit on him. And Shawn just reels back, fucking drills Taker with a chair shot. It's brutal.
Yep.
Like non-protected nothing. And then he's got to cover him 1, 2, 3. But then the line the next night he had to turn heel. And he didn't have to, because he didn't mean to do what he did. Of course, he had to deal with Taker, but I
think that's half the reason why too. Because Taker was over his face at that point.
Yeah, but it was weird because look at Shawn's tactics and they weren't heelish.
No, they weren't.
They were like a strong baby face of this motherfucker just spit on me and disrespected me. And that's kind of the same way that I look at this storyline now, because Seth is set up like Bret Hart, like Shawn Michaels, and then you have CM Punk as the Bret Hart in this situation, and The Undertaker is Drew McIntyre. Yep. It's very, very, but there's more inclined to it because this feud between Drew and CM Punk has just been so, for the last, they've done a fuck good of a job with this one too. The last 7 months has just been unbelievable television between those two guys.
They've also brought it back at good times too.
Yes,
right. They would let it simmer for a week or two, then they come back and revisit it. They let it simmer for a week, they come back and revisit it, and it's worked because it's kept people coming back and keeping them interested. It's the same to a lesser extent with the whole Judgment Day and Liv Morgan. They keep going back to it. Now, granted, that's pretty much every week. But there should be those stories that are every week versus Drew and CM Punk, where CM Punk's injured anyways. Can't do it every week. But they've made it work. They've had good timing with when they want to bring it back up and revisit it, or have both on television at the same time, but missing each other. They've just it's been a perfect way of presenting it, all things considered.
No, I agree. And I think it's going to be like I said, this is a WrestleMania match, the way that this thing has been kind of going.
Yep.
And, I find this match and the Gunther Damian Priest match actually more interesting, and Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. If we're rating this like 1 through 4, the main event of this show, Cody and Solo Sikoa, would probably rank 4th.
Yeah, I agree.
The only intrigue about Cody and Solo is the Roman Reigns factor. That is the only intrigue of this entire matchup. And when your main event is depending on someone that's not even advertised, it might be a problem.
So hold on. So I don't. They've teased it though, right? So last week on TV on SmackDown was a very pointed. If Roman Reigns has a problem with it, he can come talk to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're going to do that, he needs to be on the show.
Right. And you hope that it's not tomorrow night or for that matter, when this comes out, you hope it's not on SmackDown. Which has been our fear, and has been reported that he might come back before SummerSlam, which I don't even want it teased. Like, I don't even want him, Roman's coming tomorrow. Well, fuck you.
Well, like I said, the only tease I would accept in this scenario is on SmackDown anyways, is to have some kind of shot, whether it be him being on TV or of the phone, and that's Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
If you want to bring Paul back a day early to tease Roman Reigns coming back at SummerSlam, I am down for that. Right? Because it's indirect. It's not like he's actually there. But again, that still, as we're saying, still relies on Roman to come to SummerSlam.
That's the thing. I mean, I feel like unless you have members of the bloodline starting to get picked off tomorrow, like maybe he gets one of Gorillas of Destiny. Whether it's Tonga or...
Well, it should be Tonga Loa, concerning the eye injury.
What if he takes out one of those guys tomorrow? And then... Or either both of them. And then he just gets to Jacob at some point on Saturday. And then... So then it's Solo's got nobody now.
Well,
going into the main event.
He should have 2 people at ringside. If they're going to do that route, and I say 2 for a very important reason, because the other person who could come back, especially with Roman, all things considered, aside from Paul Heyman, is Jimmy
Uso. Yeah, that's true.
So that could be another factor of having them come back at the same time to take out whoever is, ringside. That distracts Solo. Cody does his crossroad deals, and 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
I think that makes the most sense. But again, it comes down to we have not heard shit all about it except for the rumors.
Which is good.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
We've been talking, because it was reported a few weeks ago that he might return before SummerSlam, and we were like, no, don't do that. You have to, of course, tease it. I completely understand that. But I think that the majority of the wrestling audience and the majority of the WWE audience is fully expecting that Roman Reigns is going to show up on Saturday. Even if they don't even tease it on SmackDown, they fully expect that that's what's going to happen. And I fully expect that that's what's going to happen. It is very hard with Cody right now to be excited for this feud and this matchup because, and I don't expect, I mean, I really don't blame Cody for what's really been kind of.
It's definitely not on Cody. I agree.
No, it's just been something is lacking with it. And I think it's just the idea that Solo Sikoa is a main event talent. We know who the guy is out of that group.
It sure as fuck ain't Solo.
And it's not Solo. And I told everybody, I said it months ago. I said, if they bring Jacob Fatu in, he's going to take shine off of Solo. And that's exactly what he has done. This guy was the former world champion of Major League Wrestling. He was, and that is a outfit and that is an organization that, you know, that work rate is important. Work rate, you know, they want that. And he's proven it. How many times has he taken out? I mean, I love it how much they care about the tag team division, considering Ciampa and Gargano have been wiped out multiple times now by Fatu, just literally just pillaging the whole time against these guys. I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah, we both said it. We both said the same thing, that he was going to do that.
Yep.
It almost makes you wonder if Roman comes back as somebody like the Jacob Fatu side with them instead. And then Girls of Destiny stay with Solo. Like
there are rumors they're bringing in more of the Samoan bloodline in.
So it was reported, I believe, because Zilla Fatu posted something, and then apparently Jacob Fatu posted at WWE.
Oh God.
Yeah. So Zilla Fatu is the newest rumor of the newest member of the bloodline. Obviously, we'll have to wait until Saturday to figure that out, but the news would still be a Roman Reigns return if that were to happen. That would be the biggest news.
And we are now we're going to be at Bloodline Hollywood versus Bloodline Wolfpack.
Yeah, I think we said that before, but yeah, that is probably the way it's going to go. So your next War Games or Survivor Series, if they go back to the original format.
I'm actually wearing a Wolfpack t-shirt this week.
I see that.
Go figure.
Yeah, and of course we have Wolfpack colors on the background. But yeah, the news would be a Roman Reigns return, and it very well could set up the future, whether that be Survivor Series, War Games match, who knows what they're going to do this year, probably War Games. Whether that also means a Rock return. You know, we don't know.
So much intrigue, so much that we don't, you know, who's going to challenge Cody next? Like all these things.
Brooklyn Brawler, probably.
We don't know
who the fuck knows.
We don't know who's Cody's going to be who's going to be challenging Cody next. We don't know who's going to be challenging the World Heavyweight Champion, who's probably going to be Gunther, after this month as well. Like there is so much intrigue, and there's another big stadium show at this end of the month when they have to go to Bash at Berlin, for Christ's sake. Or it's an arena. I don't even know if it's a stadium, whatever. But another international big house, loud house. So you wonder what TV is going to look like after this. But it is, again, they've always said it's the biggest pay-per-view of the summer, and they do have a lot of big names attached to it. They have a lot going on. Again, where it's a very deep card. I've always felt like if you have a card of 3 or 4 matches that can headline any PLE that you have in a given year on one super show, you're doing a damn good thing. And not to say that the other 3 matches of this card are real sleepers either, because all 3 of them are really, really top ones. You could make the argument with Nia Jax and Bayley that that's been a very good story. You can make the argument that LA Knight and Logan Paul has also been an excellent story. And the fact, too, that Sami Zayn and Braun Baker, this more or less, to my opinion, is a Braun Breaker coronation as the IC champion.
I would argue that you can't sleep on any of these matches.
No, you can't. You're right. You cannot. I feel like it is as far as SummerSlam is concerned, on paper, this one has a chance to be one of the better ones in the company's history.
I agree.
Because it is a very top-heavy card, but every match on the card, in my opinion, is something that has been a top program, an entertaining program at least, where it's just really there's no sleepers. I think it's going to do far better than what we saw with Money in the Bank, but that's not saying much.
Well, we'll see if they make good on some of that. But, especially the Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. We'll see if they make good on a lot of these promises that these matches hold. Because, truthfully, you said it best, like, none of these are bad stories so far. The LA Knight and Logan Paul, the Sami Zayn and the Braun Breaker, obviously the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre with Seth Rollins, the special guest referee. I think all of these have been incredibly well done, even down to the worst of the storylines, which can make the argument maybe is Bayley and Nia, but that's because of other factors, and they have good promo work enough to kind of make it go by. But all the other ones, strong story implications, have potential to be strong matches. I think obviously the biggest thing, unfortunately, with Solo and Cody is more the return of Roman Reigns than anything else. And I'm going to say that I'll be really shocked if he doesn't come back, because then where do you progress after that?
It's true. But at the same time, I think it is a very likely scenario. I think there's enough meat on the bone though, that if he doesn't come back, but I think it's a high, like 95 to 99% sure chance that he's going to be showing up. But I think it, even if he doesn't, I don't think many people are going to be upset. There might be some people upset online, but they're always going to be upset anyways. They're going to find reasons to fucking hate it. But but I think the other stuff, like if Gunther wins the title, but Roman doesn't come back, I'm not going to be mad. As long as the other matches kind of deliver and Solo does not win the championship. If Solo won the championship at the end of the night, I think I would literally just start flipping furniture. But I honestly don't see that happening. I see Cody retaining. If Roman comes back, great. If he doesn't,
I just think it's hard to not have him come back at SummerSlam.
That's the problem.
Especially.
They've kind of booked themselves into a corner where it's like, we need to have him come back.
Yeah, because I mean, like, granted, you could make do, like you said. There's enough meat there to kind of do something, but it's just, I think you nailed it right there. I think they have incredibly booked themselves into the corner if he's not coming back.
Yes, it's like, I feel like this is the whole match. I feel like is based around Roman coming back, which that's fine and all, but that also shows me you kind of don't have the confidence in Cody that you should.
I don't think that's true though. Because you get Solo out of the mix, because obviously Roman's going to go after Solo more than he's going to go after the belt right now, and that frees Cody back up to then have a new heel to face, whoever that might be. One of the things they could potentially do, which I don't think they should pull the trigger to Mania on something like this, but have Randy come back as a heel at this point, because he feels effed over by Cody or something like that.
The problem is, I feel like that it is a Mania matchup.
Oh, I agree.
It is. I mean, you can always turn Kevin Owens heel and have Kevin Owens and Cody. That could make sense. There's a lot of things I think they can do. They might even try to get Jacob Fatu. I don't know. They might do the crazy shit like that.
True.
But I think that you're right in the sense of that maybe that's maybe I'm over guessing and saying that I feel like that they're okay. But the problem is that you're the main event, you're the title match, you're the top kind of match on the card. But at the same time, the reason why people are interested is Roman coming back. And that's kind of the problem that I'm facing, in the sense of that no one is interested in seeing the match. I think everybody's expecting that Cody is going to win. They just want to know if Roman's going to come back. And that's kind of like an expectation you kind of don't want in your main event, of having it kind of hinge on someone having to make a comeback.
Right, but I'm saying I don't think that's indicative of Cody as much as it is Solo, though.
No, I don't think it's indicative of Cody, because I think, and I don't hate the championship reign as much as people online do, because it's like I knew what it was going to be. I knew it was going to be a few months of like, you're going to be kind of treading some water, because there's really no heels for you to beat.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where it's at. And I especially knew that when it was like, well, Solo's going to face him at SummerSlam. I'm like, well, you guys are really scraping the barrel, aren't you? So.
It sucks because they could have kept, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but they could have kept the Final Testament on SmackDown to at least fill a heel void.
That's true. I mean, Karrion Kross, I just don't know why. It's like there's something there, and then it's like there's not something there with him sometimes. And it's like he's consistent. It's like, I like his in-ring work. I like his look. And then there's something about him. I'm just like, but then there's this. There's always something. But like there's certain talent, and he's one of them that I just look at everybody and I'm like, and there's a reason. And I remember Cornette was just like, he's kind of reminds me of Mark Marrow, because everybody's interested in Scarlett. They don't care about him.
Yeah,
and
that is true.
He's pretty on point on that one.
Yeah.
Because that's what I feel like with him at times. And AOP is like another one where it's just like, well, I'm glad Paul Ellering still has a job, but what the fuck are these guys doing? Who the hell are these guys? So that I think is, but I mean, we're here where we are. Solo's in the spot. It's kind of to serve a purpose that has nothing to do with Cody. So that's kind of the problem that I'm, because you're hinging your main event on progressing a storyline that Cody is not even involved in yet. So that's kind of where I'm.
He might not even get involved at all if they bring in another Samoan or Anoa'i family member. Then I don't think Cody's even involved.
You know, he's kind of like this square peg for a round hole in this whole thing.
Racist.
Fucking blocks now? Really?
Sorry.
We're going with that?
Yep.
Shit.
Yep,
I could have said like, I was trying to think of a Cornette line or something that he
probably wouldn't make it better.
No, it wouldn't. No, but yeah, I think Cody retains. It's just Roman. I think the big question is, will he or won't he? And that's talking about Roman coming back.
Really is the bigger story of this match, like you said. It's just even if they do a press conference, which they most likely will because it's SummerSlam, they do the press conference after. The news is not going to be Cody Rhodes defending. It's going to be Roman Reigns returning.
Roman Reigns is back. Oh my God, Roman Reigns is back. It's like, yeah, Roman Reigns is back. Right. Like, because I don't know if Cody feels that at all yet. If Cody feels like that his title reign hasn't been that great. Again, it's just like you got to give it some time. Like Hogan didn't have meaningful matches for at least on national TV. I think. Yeah,
I don't want to say that though. Like not about Hogan, obviously, but I don't want to say that he hasn't had meaningful matches. He has.
He has. He's had the Logan Paul matchup. He's had the AJ Styles matchups. It's just I don't know what's missing. Like, I feel like
a
something's
meaningful
missing.
feud.
I feel like that he's just been feuding with placeholders. And
I mean,
whole
even with
thing-
Solo, yeah, that's exactly what I'm about to say. It's. I feel the same about Solo. I don't think that Solo is main event ready. I just don't. He has not proved that enough to me at this point. Main eventing a random Raw or SmackDown, sure, yeah, absolutely, go for it.
I don't even know if he's IC belt ready, let alone world heavyweight champion, let alone world champion level.
If you asked me when he first came up, I would have said yeah. You asked me now, no.
Mm.
When he first came up and was still the street champ before they gave him the Samoan Spike as his finisher, sure. Sure. And even a little bit into that Samoan Spike when they gave that to him, even a little bit into that, sure, maybe. Now, no. No, I don't see it. I would have maybe said tag champ with somebody, but I don't even see that anymore at this point.
No, I just see him.
He's a jobber, let's be real.
He just doesn't, there's something there that's just not lacking. Like, it's just not connecting. Like, it's just not connecting at all. And I think that I know they've invested a lot of time into him. I know they think this guy's, he's going to carry the ball. I think there's other guys in that their own faction that are in a hell of a lot better position and will give you more than what Solo has throughout his tenure on the main roster.
I mean, dude, just look at the speed in which, a guy like Braun Breaker has, obviously. That's one thing we talk about speed. But look at some of the guys in this faction, like you said. Look at, Tamatongo. Look at Jacob Fatu. How fast and explosive they are.
Yep.
And
he doesn't have that.
Dude, like, it's funny because I look at them, like, I look at Sopranos sometimes. You have your guys on the street that are, like, able built and stuff, and you have Solo who's like Tony Soprano and just kind of looks fat and overweight. But he's the boss, so everybody does what he wants anyways.
First couple of years he was in shape.
I love how you're defending James Gandolfini and not Solo Sikoa, right?
Well, the first couple of seasons he was in shape.
No, he was in better shape. He
was in better. Probably from like season 4-ish, like through the end. Like, oh god. Especially too when the breathing started to come into it. But it's with Solo, it's like you're right. I just think that's he's where I felt like with Roman Reigns as far as a mafia boss, he kind of reminded me of like a Michael Corleone, where it was just like the strength and kind of just utter dominance. Where I look at Solo and I'm just like, yeah, Jersey Crew.
See, you see it too.
I do. No, you just brought up Mike. Yeah, but then Jacob Fatu, Jacob Fatu would be Furio, because he's literally, and then you have,
if you're Carmella, sure, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
We had coffee, Tony. That's all.
That's all.
Now the coffee sucks. How do you like them apples?
Oh my god.
That's yeah, but it is a fair assessment now that we look at it that Solo Sikoa is Tony Soprano. Christ, now I can't get that imagery out of my head.
I know. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, damn. Now I'm going to look at Tony Soprano.
The show is ruined.
I don't know about that, but I'll get over it. I'll get over it.
But, well, so who's... Well, because if we're doing the surprise... I feel like the... Because it's like I look at Silvio and I'm like, that's Paul Heyman. Like, that is literally Paul Heyman.
If we're going by it now, it would be Tongaloa.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything else right now with his eye injury.
No, that's
But
true.
You're right. It would have been Paul Heyman otherwise.
It would have been Paul. And it's like, so who's Paul now for fucking Roman if we're doing... Paul would be Tom Hagen. That's right. He would be Tom Hagen which was Robert Duvall's character from The Godfather.
Yeah. If we're going with those analogies, yeah.
I love how I'm just like now I'm just thinking about it. Like now I have to compare it. Okay. Yeah, Jacob Fontu would be Furio as far as like the top. Well, if I need to get money, this is who I get. This is your top collector.
Yeah.
Because that if he owed you money and you saw him at your door, yeah, let me give you everything and then some.
So is Tamatonga Christopher then?
Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
I guess he would be Christopher. I did that.
I did that. It's funny. One of the times that we have some of the conversations like this, Kelly needs background noise when she works. So one of the shows that she has as background noise is Sopranos.
Yes.
Ironically enough. So sometimes when we have these conversations, I've literally just watched an episode or 2 or 5 that day because she's had it on. And when we had that conversation last, we had just watched that episode. I did that.
The famous I killed Ralphie episode.
Yes. Yep.
I love how Tony Soprano took Pio Mai's death harder than like Pussy's death, Christopher's death, his own mother's death.
It's an innocent creature.
I understood the death of his mother, him not caring. Absolutely. Considering that woman was just awful. Like that woman, God bless her, deserved every award that she could have possibly get because she just played perhaps the most unlikable character in the history of television.
One of them. I think that kid who played Joffrey is probably up there.
How about the cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch? We could put him up there too.
I mean, you could put the entire Brady Bunch up there anyways, but yeah.
Yeah, including Robert Reed.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That poor guy.
That poor man.
That poor man. It's like, it's... I'm not going to get involved in that. But it is funny how I always get clips with my favorite Christopher and Tony moment. I think it was like season 1 when Christopher picks him up and immediately he hits him. He's just like, "What the fuck you doing?" And then Christopher just kept trying to explain it. He just says, "Shut up!" And he just kept getting louder and more just animated with every shut up. And it was like 3 in a row where Christopher's trying to explain it. Shut up! But also, Christopher gave one of the best responses that I've ever heard when he was just like, this whole living life thing, man. Which is so relatable now. Like this everyday life thing.
Oh, God,
it's so relatable. And that kind of line and that argument, it went from me laughing hysterically at it because of Tony just telling him to shut up. And then he comes back with that rebuttal and it immediately just halts everything of the laughing. And you're just like, oh, wait, he just gave like a really deep kind of response. Like one now I can sit there and be like, fuck, this is relatable. Which shows you how relatable that show was because it wasn't like they were like the Corleone family. It was like, yeah, they were connected. Yeah, they had all this money. They had their own compound and that type of stuff. And then you have the Jersey Mafia where Christopher is short a couple of $1,000s and having to go work with somebody that he can't fucking stand to rob this concert venue of a charity concert at a college.
And then the kid pissed on his seat.
Oh, yeah. And he's just like, what the fuck? Like, fucking drive. But it's one of those shows that 1 minute can make you laugh hysterically and then give you moments of just like deep thought between the psychiatry episode, the psychiatry moments, and then even conversations that he has with his crew or even his family. It's a very relatable show when it shouldn't be that relatable because, you know, nobody really kind of the mafia. But it was relatable because it talked about everyday shit that people have to kind of deal with and kind of go through, and mental health, and was talking about mental health when really nobody else was back then. And the two of the most based in reality shows that I've ever seen is Roseanne and The Sopranos. Because yeah, I understand. Well, the mafia is not an everyday thing, but it was everything else that went along with it.
Yeah, I would say that is a reality show. I would say it's not serious based on reality type of reality show, but I would still argue you could view it as such.
Yeah, because Tony's having to balance his job, which is
the mafia.
Yeah, and also have to deal with a marriage and kids, and his fucking sister. And
oh God, yeah,
Janice. God, it's another one where it's just like, I fucking hate you so much. It's like it's just.
There is some moments that Janice is pretty badass, but I agree. For the most part, it's like, oh my God, go away.
When she killed Richie, yes.
Yeah.
When she killed Richie, I was just like, okay, like, because
when she beats up that lady at the soccer place too.
Yeah, that was fun. Like, there was moments of Janice I was just like, okay. Especially the Richie thing, because that came out of fucking nowhere. Like, but at the same time, it's like, she's a soprano. She ain't gonna fucking.
I think at the same time, it was just like, what do you expect? More than anything,
yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, Richie was going anyways. We were just wondering who was going to do the hit. I think Tony was pissed because he couldn't do it. Because Tony probably really wanted to do it.
I think he was like, all right, cool, fuck. I don't have to do anything now except clean up.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when he walked in, he almost looked like relieved. He's just like, I don't have to do this.
Yep.
And it's funny how Junior just sprung it on him like that same day. So that was already in motion.
Yeah.
And then he told Syl, the conversation with Syl, he's just like, get it done. And then all of a sudden it's just like he brought the next. I wish they showed the next conversation with Syl of just him going up to him and be like, well, we don't need to do that.
Yep. It's man, it was such a great show. Even still, it's a great show.
It really is. That is a show that I'm probably going to upgrade on Blu-ray, which I know people are sitting there and they're just like, you still buy physical? Yeah, I do. Fuck off.
I think there's a lot of people that still do, depending on what the physical media is.
Because you really don't own anything digitally.
You don't.
Like, they can take that shit from you at any point. Like, Sony did it last year at one point. Like, people went into their PlayStation libraries and the movies are gone. Like, if you bought them, you didn't rent them, they were just gone. Couldn't get them back. It's like, so you wasted that money and you got nothing. And there are movies that either are never going to be on streaming or they get moved around so much and it's just like, you don't have a subscription plan to this. And it's just like, fuck that. Like,
it's funny you say that because I was actually looking for the show Vikings, which Edge was on years ago, obviously, the last season or two.
Yeah.
And I remember looking for it. I found it because I'd never watched it before. I obviously watched it on Amazon. I went back, I think, a year or two ago, and I couldn't find it. I was like, oh, whatever. Maybe they moved it. It'll be back later, whatever. But I happened to look again, and now it's on Netflix. And how often does you see this stuff on Netflix? Last chance to watch this date. it's all over the place, and whether
my friend, you can go on eBay right now and get Vikings the complete series 1 through 6, seasons 1 through 6 for $38.95.
That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Not going to do that, but yeah, then I own it.
And you own it like that. That's the difference that people need to realize. Because yes, I still have quite a bit of my physical media.
Oh, I do too.
Like I look at Family Guy, and I look at some of the seasons that I have of that show. Now that they are owned under the Disney umbrella, what are they going to take out?
Yeah, they did that with what was it? The Michael Jackson episode of Simpsons?
Oh, gone.
Yep.
You'll never be able to watch the complete series of The Simpsons because that episode will never be on Disney Plus.
Yep. Never.
And for reasons.
And
I understand why, but for reasons.
But you're right about Family Guy, though. If that goes up there, it's like, well, you're never going to be able to hear I Wish Upon a Weinstein again, probably.
No. So it's there's just certain things, and there's a movie that The French Connection, which was won an Academy Award, one of the best movies of the 70s, with directed by William Friedkin. Gene Hackman won an Academy Award for it. Roy Scheider was his fucking goddamn partner. So I mean, this thing was extremely critically acclaimed, one of the best movies of the 70s. And they recently made changes because there's some ethnic slurs
Reasons.
in the movie. Yeah. Reasons. And so you can't watch it complete now, but if you have the physical media of it or the Blu-ray of it, that goes up in value. I happen to own it on Blu-ray, which went up in value. I think I bought it for like $6. And now I could probably sell it now for like 30, 40.
Probably.
Because, there's some people out there that it's just like they want that. They want everything to be like, and I'm one of them. I'll be the first one to admit it. But also at the same time, if somebody came to me and was just like, I'll give you $60 for this movie that I spent $6 on, I'm probably going to take the $60 and just be like, I don't need to hear those words. Like,
yeah. But that's the thing with the physical media. And like, I strayed away from it for a while because of the streaming services. But you're right. Like, if I ever come to a point where I want to own it, or I want to watch those episodes that are not going to make streaming services due to censorship and other things, then I have the physical copy at that point.
And I also remember a day and age where when a box set complete series came out, you were talking in the hundreds of dollars. You were talking, I still remember when Game of Thrones, the complete series, came out. And that was at least $200 for the Blu-ray even. You could probably get that now for under $100.
Probably, yeah.
The prices have come down because it's such a niche market and they've made so much of it that a lot of this overstock, they've gotten to the point of, we just need to get fucking rid of it. And there was a lot of, there's a place called Gruv Entertainment, GRUV Entertainment. About 6 months ago, they were selling off a bunch of WWE physical media, and they had a lot of Blu-rays. And I think I bought like all the ones that I wanted, all the Blu-ray sets. I think were probably like 15 to 20 a piece, which is not bad. When they first came out for their Blu-rays, I think they were like in the 25 to 35 range. But spending like 10 to 15, and some of them were even like lower than 15. And so I stocked up quite a bit. And that, because my thought process too with the network is, because there might be a lot of stuff that doesn't make the cut because they really haven't updated their classic departments. Like I remember on the network, they used to drop like random MSG shows just on a whim some fucking Friday. Like, and it would just be something random, something they've sat in the library for all these years. They really haven't done that with Peacock. So it's kind of kind of hard to get a lot of the old school stuff and plus I do want it in HD. I've reached a point now of, I want it in high definition, 1080p at least. I want to be able to see the best possible color and the best possible sound. There are some movies too, it's the same thing. I don't know if I'm going to go from Blu-ray to 4K though. I just think it's kind of pointless, number one. And I really would hate, because unfortunately of how old I am, I have bought Back to the Future at least 6-7 times on physical media.
Well, it's funny we're talking about this after we talked about like the video games earlier.
Yeah,
because it's the same, right? Like if you buy it on Steam, you own it. But if you ever lose access to your Steam account or Steam can ban games, I'm sure, then there you go. PS5 for the first time, a gaming console has come out where you don't need to purchase a disc anymore.
right.
And personally, for me, the one physical media that I will still buy are video games, because you never know when it's going to disappear.
That's true.
You never know. And you see this a lot with the older games, especially. They have them on some services, like a lot of developers have their own apps. Like I think Ubisoft has their own. I am sure if they pulled it off with more game releases, I'm sure Rockstar would probably do something similar. But case in point, with Ubisoft, I remember it where I heard on the news that they got rid of all the old Assassin's Creed games on that platform. So only like the newer ones can you really play. Meanwhile, I could just dig out my PS3 and plug it in, and it'll probably work, and I'll play whatever the fuck I want. You know?
Well, I look at too. It's also this week. I think that the Xbox 360 marketplace just closed.
Yep, you're right.
So pretty much your SOL if you want to be able to get a lot of that library now.
Yeah,
because you can't. Like, it's just that they're phasing that out of, and really, it's just forcing people of just like, if you haven't upgraded yet, you better go fucking upgrade.
Yeah.
Which is hard. Which is really hard, because I know a lot of people that still played like their older systems because there's some games that just can't carry it over. Like the old wrestling games, there's a lot of them you're never going to be able to get a re-release of because of the licenses that they would be able to have to get. There's still people that they mod it, but they still play NFL 2K5. Some people still play MLB. I think it was MVP base, not MVP.
The show, wasn't it?
Not the show. It was the one that it was MVP baseball, 2004 and 2005 by EA, before they lost their baseball rights. People still play them. They still are getting updates to the game and are still playing these games 20 years old. How about this aspect of it? Simpsons Hit and Run has yet to get a re-release either on PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, or Xbox 360, Xbox One, or the current gen system with Xbox Series X, Series S, and PlayStation 5. It has yet to get a release, and I'm wondering why they have not done an updated HD remaster, considering the fact that if this game was re-released under an HD master and under an HD kind of upgrade and all that stuff,
you're right.
A remaster, every fucking person would buy it. It's one of the best games ever. And it's a complete Grand Theft Auto ripoff. But it's the world of the fucking Simpsons, which we all grew up with.
Look at the new South Park games. They've sold well. They
have.
Bring the Simpsons back.
And they've actually been good games.
Yeah.
That it's just so upsetting that, and I talk about this with Billy all the time because we're both like such big components of we need to have this released. Like, why is this not done yet? And I don't think there would be anybody that would complain about like, well, I still have it for the PS2. No one would fucking say that. If you upgraded to HD and you did some modifications to it, you don't even have to change that much. Just do an fucking upscale. That's it. That's all you need to do. You don't need to change anything else about the game. Keep everything the same. That's all what people would want. And they would buy it. Everybody I know would buy it.
I'd buy it tomorrow.
Without question.
Actually, I would buy it right now and let Amazon ship it tomorrow. But, you get my point. There's stuff that I would buy again, right? You talked about it with Ghostbusters. We're talking about it now with Simpsons Hit and Run. There's so many games out there I could probably the same exact thing. There's a few that I don't, and I'll be fully transparent about that. Because sometimes the remaster is not worth it. So in the case of the PS2, whatever they called it, GTA 3, San Andreas, and Vice City remake, apparently it was really shitty. So I did not go spend money on that.
I might if it gets cheap enough.
I might. One that I did get, but I didn't get it originally, which is actually why I got it, was the HD remakes, or remixes, if you will, of the Mafia games.
Oh, yeah.
That I got. Because I never played them either. And there was a sale going on where you can get it for like $25. I was like, okay, let's go.
I think I did that last year, and I did that.
I think
last
that's when
year,
it was. Yeah.
When I got the Xbox, I bought the Arkham trilogy, I think for like $10, and it included all like the bonus features. So I was like, okay. Like, I know I paid for all three, but for $10 and I get to own them, fine, fuck it. Yeah, because they ain't taking those games down. Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
There's some games it's just like, yeah, this ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still like we're talking about with TV. It's still up to whoever is providing it, right? Whether that be PSN, whether that be Ubisoft. I think it's Ubisoft Plus.
Right.
Xbox Marketplace could close down tomorrow, and they could be like, "All right, well, sorry, not sorry." But they could also turn around and say, "But if you already bought the copy, you still have access to it." So they do all these different things, and same with the TV providers that are providing these apps. Peacock stuff is probably going to stay on Peacock. Like The Office. It was originally on Netflix. They moved it to Peacock because it was a Peacock property.
Right.
But case in point with, again, going back to the Simpsons example, you're never going to see that Michael Jackson episode unless you have a copy of it. Never.
Yeah. And it's the only way you can get it. It was funny because Simpsons DVD seasons were really starting to come down in price, except that season now. That season now, even for
It's
a used copy,
up.
it's way up base. I'm like, oh God, I hate this. But I've also reached a point of, I don't know if I have the room to get as many. I feel like the room I'm in now would get filled up with box sets of The Simpsons. Like it's just gotten to that point because there's so many. Like we're coming up on 35 years of the show being in existence. So times that with
it's crazy. It's crazy when you say it that way. I'll put it in a crazier tone. There are people alive now that can drink that were born after The Simpsons started its run.
I know.
Substantially after at that too.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean the movie came out like 17 years ago now.
Oh man, don't do that.
I'm just saying that and we thought that was like we all thought that was going to be the end. Like I was just like, is this the end chapter?
You know what? That's
17
ironic.
Years later.
What's ironic about that is when I remember going to see that in the theater and then bumping into my ex-girlfriend there while seeing it.
Which one?
The one that you know from college.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. She was there with her roommate. I was like, wow, okay, hi, how you doing?
How could you miss her? Anyways,
I mean, she was sitting right in the aisle, so I wouldn't have been able to miss her unless I sat like way in the front, probably.
You know what I meant.
I know exactly what she meant.
You know what I meant.
I know what she meant, but we don't have to say that out loud. Thanks.
Well, hey, like they're gonna know.
There's gonna be a day when we do another show, and they're probably gonna find out. But more on that to come.
Are you sending that to them? Like, how are they getting this?
Oh, I'm not
that would
sending
be
it
my
to her.
question. Could you imagine though, like if the old acquaintances or that all of a sudden they're listening to this and they're just like, oh God, is he talking about me? Oh my God, they are talking about me.
I'll never tell.
Hey. Look, that's the thing, folks. When you have a show like this that you've been also working with a friend that you've known for over 20 years, like over half my life, I've known this person. So he's my brother in arms to the always and forever. And it's amazing how many inside references and jokes that only you know, the two of you know. So everybody else is just like this mass audience is just sitting there. They're just like, what the hell are they talking about? Meanwhile, we're just snickering about little things that it's listen, the only things we know about.
Hold on. I think in this context, though, the only real thing is which girlfriend. And even in that context, people are like, wait a minute, how many girlfriends has this dude had in the past? And I don't know if I want to answer that. I don't think I'm ready for that.
I didn't ask that question.
I know, but that's what's going through what is going through people's minds right now is that question now.
Yeah, and I'm going to sit here and be like, I've been with 3 people my entire life. Yeah, everybody in the audience, because they would all be like, there's no way he was 3 people. There's no way.
I think it's actually more, but yeah. Just try to do the math in my head right now.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, and we're doing that. We're not going to talk about the math here. We'll talk about that's for an after show talk, folks.
Which we are not posting, by the way.
No. That'll be Patreon content.
Oh, Jesus.
We ever get to that point?
You had to go there, of all places.
They got to pay for it. Fuck them.
Meanwhile, Dan and I are starting OnlyFans.
Whoa, wait.
Hey, it's not on Patreon.
I'm not at that point yet. Come on.
I didn't say anything about pictures or anything like that.
Patreon, I could send them a postcard. Like on OnlyFans, they'd want something else.
I mean, if they pay for it, what the hell?
That's true.
On that note, any other thoughts on SummerSlam? Returns.
I think you could have asked that 40 minutes ago, and I think it would have been like
probably could have. Yeah. Probably could have. That's all I got. Probably could have. I think for all intents and purposes, though, it's going to be a good show. I think that the card is stacked. We'll have to see what some of the returns are, because as I keep saying the last couple of weeks, SummerSlam seems to be the season of returns, especially under Triple H the last couple of years. But we'll see. Hopefully that big one does happen at the main event, because
my God, Adam Cole's here! Oh my God!
Not that one.
There. Oh, come on! You wouldn't mark out for Adam
I would
Cole.
mark out, but I don't see it for SummerSlam. Who's he going to come back against? Of anybody? Exactly.
Fucking guy can work with anybody, though.
Then I think he should go to NXT like freaking Ethan Page.
No!
Yes.
He's already done that.
I know. Put him back in there with Ethan Page for a little bit. For a year. Jesus Christ. For a year, I'm saying. Jeez.
You don't need him to go to NXT. He's been there, done that.
I know, which is why I want him to be NXT champion one more time and then come up.
mean, everybody wants to coronate fucking Joe Hendry with it now.
I'm gonna put the song on the show just to hear you be like,
Stop.
"Oh God,
No, God, don't do that to me."
Yeah, see, exactly.
God,
Dan, I believe in Joe Hendry.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
Oh man! All right, boss, you want to take us home?
Might as well. I want to say that I hope everybody enjoys SummerSlam this weekend. I know there's going to be a portion of people that are going to be like, I'm going to watch Collision instead. Well, fuck you. But I hope everybody enjoys SummerSlam this weekend. It's going to be a great show. And I wanted to, so I guess we'll start off with our plugs here for Spotify and for Apple, as this is the new Pro Wrestling World Talks. I want to thank people that have kind of checked in on my last week after John's passing. Last week was a hard week, I think, for everybody here at Pro Wrestling World, but this was the announcements and kind of things that were already kind of in motion before news of his passing hit. And this was going to be the date that kind of things were going to be kind of announced and made more official. We're going to have Dave on. Of course, though, we had a transformer blow here in town last night, so I had no power for a time. So Dave's going to be on, I think, next week, and we're going to review SummerSlam and talk about anything that kind of happened on Raw. So be sure to check out on that. If you're here on Spotify and for Apple, if you're on the YouTube page here on Diamond Podcasting Productions, be sure to check out our first non-wrestling release, which was my kind of vlog love letter to the people that I worked with at WCCC and also my time at WCCC. It's gotten some pretty decent views in the last 24 hours. I posted at midnight on August 1st, which marked the 10th anniversary of me leaving WCCC when the company was sold to EMF, which was the same company, K-Love, that purchased WAAF back in 2020. So I did post it in the WCCC group this morning, which included some old listeners and some old staff, which some people tagged me in some posts this morning as they didn't realize they were just like, all of a sudden they got reminded this morning. I don't know if it was a combination of my post or looking in their Facebook messages or memories telling them that, today was 10 years. It was me trying to be extremely positive for once. And actually coming onto this program tonight, I tried to be extremely positive. I don't get it. Still trying to figure out where all this kind of positivity and kind of, I don't know, just not trying to be like the negative Nancy on things and trying to always think of the negative ways, unless it's AEW, because then I'm like, well, I could just be truthful here. I don't have to lie like everybody else. I'm just like, this company's successful. They've been in the red for 5 fucking years. All right. If anything now, I am just trying to be more positive. I am trying to be, bring a better light to the program instead of just being a negative Nancy all the time, which I guess at times I can come off as that way. So I felt really good this week when I did the WCCC episode. And I guess that's carried over because tonight I have been somewhat upbeat than I normally have, which is, I guess, good. I feel good coming into I'm closing in on this show and I'm not like dead tired. I'm just like, hey, how are you? Welcome to the program. Thanks for listening. Things like that. So I'm sure Mac is just like, what have you done to him? Is this Invasion of Body Snatchers? What is happening?
Yeah, who are you right now?
What is this? What are you doing?
Who am I?
Who is this? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
That is like the worst wrestling chant ever.
It's happened, though. I've heard it.
Yeah, I know, but it's still the worst. Oh, man. Yep. We're still also the shoot on YouTube, part of the Diamond Podcasting Productions, at least for now, till we kind of figure out what we want to do. We'll continue to do both shows until then, and then we'll have some sort of announcement, I'm sure, about what that will look like. But anything else from you?
No.
Okay, bye. All right. Have a happy weekend, everybody, watching.
Enjoy SummerSlam!
Enjoy SummerSlam, yes. And we will catch you next time.
Smoke weed every day.